of the Madras Week heritage events is in a celebration of Madras and also a celebration of storytelling. We have with us some of the best storytellers that Lavanya has found for us. Lavanya Srinivas. Janaki Sabesh, first of all, wears multiple hats. She is the founder of Golpo Tales Unlimited. She's also collaborated with publishers and she works with educators. She's also an actor and she's also turned author recently, I believe. So I'm sure she has lots of wonderful stories for us. We then have Lavanya Prasad, who is an electrical engineer who's become a professional storyteller. She has also founded a storytelling initiative called Talescope. She works with children, adults, and senior citizens. So she's going to be telling us another story. Seema Wahi Mukherjee is an international storyteller, storytelling coach, and an educational consultant. She has performed for various students, audiences all around the world, national to international. That's amazing. Kenya, South Africa, and Singapore. Then we have Usha Venkatraman, who is not only an award-winning storyteller, but she's also a classical vocalist, a puppeteer, radio show host. So as you can see, a lot of very, very talented people that we have here. And the moderator for this session is going to be Lavanya Srinivas, who is herself a storyteller and is also faculty at NIFT Chennai. Lavanya, over to you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sukumari, for inviting us and thinking of storytelling to celebrate Madras. Thank you, IIT Alumni Center, for inviting us to share our stories in celebration of the spirit of Madras. And yeah, thank you, storytellers, my fellow storytellers, Lavanya Prasad, Janaki Sabesh, Usha Venkatraman, and Seema Wahi Mukherjee, to have agreed to come and tell the stories. So, Madras and storytelling, I'm sure you're wondering what exactly is the connect. When Sukumari said, let's have she's been watching us storytellers to performing everywhere. And when she said, yes, we must have a storytelling session, we said, but why me? What does Madras mean to me? All of us have heard this. You know, Chennai is a city and Madras is an emotion. And just like Chennai, the emotion stories are full of emotions. They're oral histories as well. The past, the present, and the future that we imagine, connecting the dots. And you know what? We are all storytelling animals, not social animals alone. So we make sense of everything around us through stories. Our narrative brain keeps on making its own stories of the people, of the places, of the cuisine, of the memories, everything. And I'm sure many of you who are watching us here and waiting to listen to our stories have already started connecting the dots, what Chennai and what Madras means to you. And my idea of curating this with different storytellers is to understand, does a city belong to you only if you're born there? Or if you're raised there? Or if you stay there, either for some reason or other, you come there and you stay put, and that becomes your city? If you're away, far away, does it mean anything to you at all? So with these questions in mind, I had, connected with Usha Venkatraman from Mumbai, Seema from Gurgaon, and then Lavanya Prasad from Bangalore, and our own Janaki Sabesh. I just wanted to explore what exactly the place means to the people who are here, who have not been here, and who had maybe just come and gone, or whatever it is. Let's all listen from the storytellers, because I don't know what Madras means to them, whether they were here, some connect or not. But this is just an experiment to see what exactly city means. And before we go into the storytelling, I just wanted to tell you that centuries ago, when the British came here to trade in the form of East India Company, it is these emotions that made them set up a library at the Fort St. George, the Madras Literary Society. They started there, then it moved to Connemara. Why I'm talking about the library is that the connect, the books, and why are we here? Why is Bibliothèque here hosting this show? It is to nurture the young minds and the family bond through stories, because we have all been raised like that. And just to say that stories are not just for children, it's for everybody, the adults, yeah, the senior citizens, everyone. So I would be requesting each of the storytellers to share what Madras means to them. And along with the audience, I'm equally curious to listen to your stories. So over to you, Seema Wahi Mukherjee from Gurgaon.
Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you for having me here. And thanks to all of you who are here. Well, things change, people change, places change. For change is the only constant. But it is uncanny how all these, the things, the people, and places, remain constant, or their memories still remain etched as they were in our minds. Perhaps that is the beauty of memories and the emotions they evoke. And for me, Chennai has always stood, as Lavanya asked me, what Chennai stands for me. Chennai has always stood for friendship, for freedom, and for stories. And I'm going to tell you how. Well, born in Delhi and brought up in a place called Ranipur, which is in the foothills of Shivaliks, I encountered someone from Madras for the first time, and they were my neighbors. I was just 2 years old, and my neighbor Gopan and his mother were extremely close to my family. I still remember sitting with auntie in the afternoons and having sambar rice with hand, while Gopan would go to my place and he would be having parantha and dahi with my mother. Well, auntie being from Madras and her talking about Madras at those times and the sea and her memories and her sharing with my mom somehow made its way into my heart and mind. And I remembered auntie for her love, her acceptance of me, her friendship for my mother, and her kindness in feeding me the sambar rice with her hands when I was all of 2 years old. I grew up looking forward to going to Madras at least once in my lifetime. And then came history books, and I learned about Madras being an important place in history too. But my first opportunity to visit Madras came in 1994 when I was studying garment manufacturing technology at NIFT Delhi. We were supposed to do 2 months of summer internship, and we were given a few choices. So one of the choices, or shall I tell you all the choices? It was Cochin, it was Bangalore, it was Mumbai, then Bombay, then Delhi, and Madras. And without even blinking my eyelids, I knew I would go to Madras. First of all, because my closest friend at that time, Kavita Kameshwaran, lived in Madras. She had told me so many tales about her city, about the sea which I had never seen, about Mahabs and Pondi and other places nearby, that I was keen to go and visit Madras. Well, the other thing was to convince my parents to allow me to go there. It wasn't like these times. In 1994, I was just 22, and parents never allowed daughters to step out and go away for 2 months at a stretch. But somehow I was able to convince my parents why I would much rather go and be with Kavita and explore Madras rather than do my internship in Delhi. Well, there was another reason, a covert reason, and I must confess, that was Arvind Swamy. Well, in those days, movie Roja was very popular. It was a hit, and Arvind Swamy was hot, and I had a huge crush on him. And in my dreams, I visualized and imagined that maybe if I go there, I would be able to meet him somehow. Or maybe someone like him, maybe fall in love. Well, none of that happened, but I did reach Madras. My first place or stay was at railway quarters at Nungambakkam High Road, where my friend's family, Kavita's family, stayed. And I was amazed at the warmth with which they welcomed me into their homes. Soon the internship started, and day began early in the morning. I had to catch a bus to go to to a train station, catch a train to go to Tambaram, and get off at Tambaram railway station, then walk to Tambaram export processing zone. Throughout the day, I was there and nothing had prepared me for the humidity of the place that summer. Anyway, humidity, sweat, no sweat. I intended to enjoy my time there. And every day during this up and down trek, I took in the sounds and the smells of the place. And I can still remember those jasmine garlands and those flower valleys or fool valleys selling those. I remember seeing jackfruit being cut and being sold on the road and people taking and buying it. Well, I had seen that for the first time because we had nothing like that in the north. I also realized that every day Kavita and I could walk even at 9 p.m. at night on Nungambakkam High Road and nothing happened. We were absolutely safe. That was very strange for me because I would never have done that in Delhi. And Madras took on a new feel for me, the feel of freedom, the feel of fresh air. And I absolutely loved it. Another thing I loved was the food. Idli and dosa had always been my favorite. And I had told Kavita's mother that I can live on idlis. And she said, I'm going to give you idli for supper, idli for lunch, idli for dinner, and you will get bored of it. But to her surprise, no matter how many times I was fed idli sambar, I always loved it. And I also realized that the food there is not just idli and dosa and sambar and uttapam, which I had tried, but it is much more. And I enjoy tasting the different smells and different taste of the food. Well, days passed there. The weekdays would pass going for internships and evenings would be for walks. But there were the weekends. And during these weekends, Kavita and I made memories. We went to the beach. And for me, it was the first time to go to the beach. I still remember walking on that sand, reaching close to where the waves came. And I remember that I was so excited that when the water will come, how would it feel? I was told that I was going to sink in the sand. And the water did come. It was so pleasurable. But when it went and receded, suddenly the sand beneath my feet also kind of went away with it. And I was scared. I clutched to Kavita, I clutched to her cousin, and I just held them and they laughed at me. It took me some time to get used to going to the sea and not feeling scared like that and walking all by myself. Well, that's one of my favorite memories from then. Another one is going to Mahabs. And another one is going to Tirupati for a day trip and visiting there. Then going to Kodaikanal. So many trips with her and so many memories, and each one is a different story. But today I'm going to stick to Madras. Well, I thought that since I like Madras so much, maybe, just maybe, I should get married to someone there and settle in Madras. Because although everyone in the north had told me before going that I would not be accepted well there, and people would have prejudices or would ask me strange questions, the only strange questions which I got ever asked were twice, whether I was a Brahmin, to which I remembered that I was a Kshatriya, and that seemed to be an acceptable answer to them. And the other one was a very strange one, that who's my favorite god. Well, I had never heard it, but I did give a due thought about it, and I never reached an answer because I still don't have a favorite one. But apart from that, everyone I met was very loving, caring, and welcoming. Well, I did not get married there, but I did the next best thing. For the next couple of years, I went there every year. And even for my honeymoon, I dragged my husband and I told him that the only places we are going to go is Mahabs, Pondicherry, and Madras. That was way back in 1996. Well, after I got married, came different responsibilities. And then came children. And years flew. These trips to Madras, the making of memories and each memorable trip with Kavi just became a thing which I would talk about, something I was wistful about and share with others that I could actually, that time, way back in 1994 to 96, take solo trips to a place which took 2.5 days to reach. Well, 20 years went by after 1996. And then my friend from school, my dearest friend Richa, called me up one day and told me that her husband had been transferred to Chennai. Yes, Madras name had changed to Chennai in those years. Well, Richa was very apprehensive going there, but I reassured her that it would be a beautiful stay. And as Richa shifted there, I also learned about Chennai Storytelling Festival. Well, Richa encouraged me and she said, why don't you come here? Come, we would be able to spend some time together, which we haven't in ages, and you can attend your festival. And I called Eric. He was very open and I was surprised. So I landed in Chennai again in the month of February. It was just amazing because the festival had all these storytellers, including some people who are sitting here, and Lavanya is here. I met Janaki, who I had met at Kathalya, and she lived in Chennai. So again for me, Madras or Chennai became a place where I deepened my friendships. I struck new friendships and I went to meet friends. Well, with Richa, both of us made most of the time which we had. One day at around 11 p.m., we went to the beach, Besant Nagar Beach, and Bessie, as Janaki told me once, it's called popularly. So we were standing there, and I still remember that huge expanse of sea. It was like looking into the dark, into eternity. And the sun, or I should say not the sun, the moon was shining, and the rays of the moon were falling on the waves. I can still remember the sound of the waves and their crashing. And Richa and I stood there, silent, yet connected with each other and with the entire universe. And I think that memory would be forever etched in my mind. There's also one memory, apart from the Chennai Storytelling Festival that year, which is etched in my mind, is attending Janaki's story session on food stories. Well, Janaki enthralled not only me, but the entire audience. And I was awestruck and looked at my friend in a new light. And after that year, every year, February meant friendship, freedom, and Chennai, and storytelling. I met Lavanya there, both the Lavanyas who are here, and many, many more friends like Yogita, Priyanka, and the friendships deepened. Acquaintances became associations, and all because of Madras. I also took my younger son on one of these trips, and just like me so many years ago, I took him to the beach for the first time. He was scared too. As the sand went away from his feet, he started yelling when the waves receded. He didn't want to be there. And it was dark, I understood. So I waited for next few days. Then one morning at 6 a.m., I took him again to the sea, to the beach. And both of us played there with water. We ran, and he overcame his fear of the sea. Well, so many memories, so many are coming and flooding and want to talk about them. But if there is something which I would like to say in the end, that is, Madras changed to Chennai in more than 25 years of association. I changed too. My surname changed. Madras changed to Chennai, and Chennai as a city grew. It grew inside, it grew outwards, and I grew too. But then, now, and forever, I think Madras for me or Chennai for me would always stand for friendship, freedom, and stories. And I have a photograph which I would request you to put on so that everyone can see, because I think that photograph sums up everything I feel about Madras or Chennai.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Seema. That is you sitting there on the beach. And yes, those who came from the northern side, that is those who are not from the coastal India, always are fascinated by the beach. Sea beach chalenge, sea beach chalenge. So whether it was Madras when you started your story, or it was Chennai when you completed your stories, all the experiences and the emotions have been just the same. So thank you so much for sharing it. And now I request another storyteller, Usha Venkataraman, coming from the other side, the West Coast, Mumbai. So Usha, over to you. I'm very, very curious to know your story and your experiences and what Madras means to you. Over to you.
Thank you, Lavanya Srinivas. Thank you, Bibliotech. Thank you, Madras IIT. And a warm welcome to all the IITians. I can see Meenakshi Ramesh. If it is same Meenakshi Ramesh, welcome. I can see my sister in the audience. So a very warm good evening to all of you. Thank you, Lavanya. Well, I have never grown or lived in Chennai or Madras. I was born in Guwahati, and in my growing up years, I don't think I ever came to Chennai, Madras. I think I went to Trichy and to Tanjavur. And it's only after my marriage I started coming to Madras every year since 1986. So you can work it out. So, well, this is a story which is very, very dear to me because to me, Madras was Pulla Pakaradu, Pon Pakaradu. We were three daughters, and I'm not joking. I have seen about 100 boys before I chose my husband. So I present to you this story, which is an adaptation of a Cuban folk tale, Meenakshi Kalyan. Meenakshi Karpagam Raghuraman Iyer was a beautiful cockroach. She lived on a cozy lamppost in the old Agraharam street of Musiri village. You know, a small little town in the Trichy district and in southern India. Now, Meenakshi lived with her large, lovable, meddlesome, interfering, loud Iyer family. Now that Meena was 21 days old and she was the eldest daughter in the family, you see, she was ready to give her leg in marriage. The entire Iyer household was crawling with excitement. Every chitti, perima, atta party, chitti party, every lady in the Iyer household wanted to give Meenakshi some gift or the other to make her look fetching as she went courting. Pankajam Parima, gave Meenakshi an antique rakodi, a real Tanjore antique piece. And Amma, Meenakshi's mother, gave Meenakshi a pattu salva, that belonged to her old great grandmother, family heirloom. And Party, Musari Valambal Party, was altogether a unique piece. Party gave Meena a Bayangaramana Buddhimati, a shocking advice. What? Meenakshi was aghast. She looked at her Party. You want me to do what? Meena, நான் சொல்றத கேளு கண்ணா. You are a beautiful cockroach. தெரியும். It's easy for you to choose a husband from many, but picking the right one is the most difficult. You mean there are other varieties also, Party? Ama. So listen to me, Kanna. What I'm saying is for your best interest. But Party, Meenakshi's feelers began to dance. So she and her Party were doing a little bit of Bharatanatyam Adavu. And Meenakshi said, Party, but how will pouring hot coffee on my suitor's shoes help me select a good husband? Solungo. Meenu, solradha கேள். When you pour hot coffee on your suitor's shoes, the way he reacts will tell you whether he gets angry or not. If he gets angry, he is not a good husband material. கோபக்காரனுக்கு புத்தி மட்டு கண்ணா. The coffee test never fails. அதுவும் கும்பகோணம் double filter coffee. Party was very wise and always had the last word. So Meenakshi nodded. Now Appa meanwhile sent Kuppu, the kili, out into the Agraharam to spread the word about Meenakshiki பொண்ணு பார்க்க போறானா. So Kuppu flew from house to house, from this end of the Agraharam, from Kamu Pati's house, the house with the large thinnai, to the other end of the Agraharam, where Pankaja Atta lived. Soon the whole Agraharam was abuzz with the news. Meenakshiki புள்ள பார்க்க போறாளாம். அடி பட்டு, தெரியுமா உனக்கு? என்னோட பேரன் போறான். காமு பாட்டி, பேசாம இருங்கோ. என்னோட தம்பி போறான். அவன் அவ்வளவு அழகு. அவன் தான் மீனாட்சியை கட்டிக்க போறான், said another lady. Meanwhile, as per the custom, Meenakshi, under the watchful eyes of her many family members, had to sit on a small spool of thread. So she adjusted her davani and sat down daintily, crossed her feet, uncrossed her feet, and crossed her feet. She didn't have long to wait, my friends. There was already the first contestant waiting right below the lamppost. And there was Mr. Subbu, and he jauntily rode up the lamppost. Meenakshi Kanne, today is your lucky day, da. Meenakshi tried not to stare at Mr. Subbu's white loafers. Mr. Subbu was dressed in starched white dhoti, white kurta, and a white angavastaram, and with a bling bling. And he jauntily rode up and said, Meena, you will look even more beautiful once you're married to me. Apdiya, thought Meenakshi. And Mr. Subbu, now just imagine, knelt down on one rooster knee, leaned forward and crooned, Yennadi Meenakshi, my future pondati, will you marry me? Won't you be my wife? Meenakshi didn't say yes or no. Coffee, Mr. Subbu. And she turned and went back inside. As decided before, party was waiting with a tray filled with the steaming Davara tumbler of Humbagonam double filter coffee. Meenakshi looked at her grandmother a little uncertainly, picked up the tray and dragged her feet outside, pretended to trip on her pavadai and threw the coffee tray up, 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 up in the air, down, 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 splashing hot coffee on Mr. Subbu's spotless white loafers. What do you think happened? Mr. Subbu lost his temper. Kikriki! Jadon, jadon, mandon, clumsy cockroach. Mr. Subbu, pardon me, mannikano sir, I'm all feelers today, said Meena. Feelers. I'll teach you better manners once you're married to me. Watch it. Mm, mm, mm. Certainly not. The coffee test has worked. Meenakshi looked at Mr. Subbu from the top to the bottom and from his leg to right to his forehead and said, Mr. Subbu, namaskar. You're not the gentleman I'm looking for. You're much too cocky for me, sir. Poit vango, please make your way. And Mr. Subbu was so crestfallen that he crooned all the way home. Kikriki. That's cock-a-doodle-doo for you in Tamil. Was Mr. Padru and white shirt, and he jauntily rode up and said, Meenakshi Kanne, it's certainly your lucky day. Brace yourself. I'm braced, said Meenakshi, and suddenly the wind direction changed. The wind that was blowing inward Hello, I think I'm back again. So I will continue. So Mr. Paddu was riding up the lamppost and he called out, Meenakshi, today it's your lucky day. Brace yourself. I'm braced, said Meenakshi. Ellaru solra இன்னைக்கு எனக்கு lucky day. And before she could say anything, the wind direction changed. The wind that was blowing inland turned and began to blow outside. Meenakshi curled her dainty nose up and the hair in her legs curled. Ayo, what an unimaginable scent. Not ayo, ayo. And then she remembered her manners and she said, Oh, Mr. Paddu, is that some special cologne scent that you're wearing, sir? And Mr. Paddu laughed and said, licked his chops and said, Ah, Meenu, that is the scent of my pigsty, rotten eggs, turnip peels, and and before that, he said, Meenakshi, I have to marry you. And he knelt on one pig knee, leaned forward, and went oink oink. Yennadi Meenakshi, my future pondati, will you marry me? Won't you be my wife? Meenakshi didn't ask him whether he needed a cup of coffee. She went inside. Right on cue, party was waiting with the tray filled with steaming Davra tumbler of filter coffee. She brought it, threw it up in the air, down, 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 spilling hot coffee on Mr. Subbu's spotless sandals. And he too lost his temper. Oink, oink! Oh, Meenakshi, don't test the patience of Mr. Padmanabhan. Ayyo, what a ham, said Meena. Look at him, hamming. And then she remembered. She said, oh, Mr. Padu, excuse me. Let me get a washcloth and I will wipe the stains off your sandals. Ha! What else does a pig need a wife for? Of course, you will more than wash up and clean up after me once you're married. Hmm? Definitely not. I'm sorry, Mr. Paddu. Namaskaram. You're not the gentleman that I'm looking for. You are a boor and a bore. And that was that. And Mr. Paddu, crestfallen, went back down the lamppost, oink, 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 all the way home. Meena took off her pattu salva, the rakodi, and she muttered to herself, you know, this is the 1960s and I have the freedom to choose. Definitely not the kind of contestants that are coming up the lamppost. And just then she felt a slimy, sticky hand on her shoulders and she whirled and she turned around and she saw it was Partha. Mr. Partha, the Pali. And there he was going, psst, psst, with his sticky fingers touching Meenakshi. And she said, oh, Mr. Partha, you shouldn't creep upon a lady like that. And Mr. Partha went, psst, psst, I don't creep, I sneak. But somehow, when Meenakshi saw Partha, it happens, right? There was no chemistry. And she said, Namaskaram, Mr. Partha. The balcony is closed for business today. Poitu vango. But Mr. Partha would not go back. He knelt on one scaly lizard knee, leaned forward, wobbled, licked his lips, and said, Meenakshi, I'll die if you don't marry me. Meenakshi was taken aback. She was flattered. Who wouldn't be? Right? Ask yourself, ladies. I still get flattered at the age of 60 when somebody says, wow, Usha, you look beautiful. What a stunning sari. So Meenakshi was taken aback, and that was the little edge that Mr. Partha was waiting for. And he said, Yennadi Meenakshi, my future pondati. Will you marry me? Won't you be my wife? Meenakshi went right inside. Now the learning curve of this cockroach was getting better with each contestant that visited her balcony railing. She picked up not one Davra tumbler, two Davra tumbler filled with steaming cup of double filter Kumbagonam coffee. And she brought it out, threw it up in the air, down, 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 spilling, splashing hot coffee on Mr. Partha's patent leather shoes. Ferragamo, I'm thinking, and he too lost his temper. He changed colors thrice, psst, 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 till he regained his true colors, and he looked at Meenakshi and he said, as I was just about to eat you, I was about to marry you. You could have heard a vettala drop in the Agraharam. There was pin drop silence. Meenakshi looked at that cold-blooded reptile and said, Mr. Parthasarthi, you're certainly not the gentleman that I'm looking for. You're much too cold-blooded for me. Poitu vango, sir, please. And Mr. Partha, as he slithered down the railing, before he jumped into the sewer, he had to take a parting shot. Meena, Mr. Partha, are you still talking to me, sir? Ama, in case nobody has ever told you, Meenakshi, there is nothing like a beautiful cockroach. And with that, he jumped into the sewer and disappeared. Meenakshi was fuming, fulminating. She was red, purple with anger. And as she was about to turn and go inside, that's when Musri Balambal Party came out and said, Kanne, How was your morning? Ayyo, party. You don't want to know. The kind of specimens that have turned up. Yanakku kalyanam vanda. Meena, did you think it would be easy to pick a good husband? You know, it took me 20 days to pick your grandfather. Then Party drew Meenakshi's attention to the lamppost and below the lamppost. So below the balcony railing was a little flower pot where hibiscus flower was growing. And Party gently drew Meena's attention and said, Kira paru, ado paru. Look at that little brown mouse. And Meenakshi looked down and she saw this little brown mouse who was industriously working there, raking the leaves. Yenna Party, he's not even looking at me. Meena, said Party, and this was the best piece of advice she gave. Why don't you go and be yourself? Go and meet the Ellie. So Meena put one dainty leg over the balcony railing, slithered down, went down to the pot below, and hid herself behind a petal and looked around it. And she saw the little brown mouse. And he said, Hello, I am Ekambaram. Oh, you, what a warm voice. Her little heart went, dak dak dil dil, dak dak dil dil. And then she remembered her manners. My name, என்னோட பேர் என்னது? She had forgotten her name. And Mr. Ekambaram said, You are Meenakshi. Meenakshi Karpagam Raghuraman Iyer, the beautiful cockroach. Oh, Mr. Ekambaram, do you think I am beautiful? Meenakshi, you see, I can't see clearly. Mr. Ekambaram was wearing glasses. But I can hear clearly. You're a smart cockroach. Who wants a beautiful cockroach? Said Mr. Ekambaram. Meena's heart just went dak dak dil dil. You Kadal Mannan Gemini Ganeshan. எவ்வளவு அழகா இருக்கான். That's when she heard her Party's voice. Meenakshi. Meenu knew that tone. No brooking an argument. Meenakshi Karpagam Raghuraman Iyer. Ingava. Meenakshi dragged her feet and said, Party, he is the right one. No coffee test for him. Coffee test is for everyone, Meena. Inda, eduthuko. This is the tray. And Meenakshi very reluctantly picked up the coffee tray and slowly dragging her feet, walked towards Mr. Ekambaram, threw the tray up in the air. But before you could say Soji Bajji, Mr. Ekambaram, with the flick of his tail, tipped the coffee tray, the Davara tumbler, and the hot coffee splashed onto Meenu's pink peep toes. She was surprised. She knew better than to get angry. And she said, Oh, the coffee test is on the other foot. But wait a minute, Mr. Ekambaram. Ore oru nimsham. How did you know about the coffee test? And Mr. Ekambaram put his arms around Meena and said, Kanne, Kanmani, I too have a Musiri Sharadambal Party. Thank you. Namaste.
Wonderful, wonderful. That was so beautiful, Usha. Girls, learn the coffee test, and boys, beware. I never knew about this, Usha. This is a smart way of finding a bedroom. And see, that is what a person who has not lived in Madras or Chennai ever has managed to capture it so beautifully. Of course, her mother tongue is Tamil. She so beautifully brought in all the elements of the cuisine, the culture, the names, everything. And Usha, I really can't believe that it's a Cuban folk tale. You have woven the culture into it. And that's what the place is all about. Again, Chennai or Madras, it's the culture that makes the place. Thank you so much, Usha. And now let's gear up to listen to Lavanya Prasad from Namma Bangalore. Yes, over to you, Lavanya. Very, very curious to listen to you.
Thank you, Lavanya. So I'll have to tell you something very, very important. I have already listened to Usha's story of the cockroach, but let me tell you, even if I hear it 100 times, she brings back that charm of Meenakshi. I never fail to sit and watch her with awe as she just brings in all the cultural elements of Madras. Thank you so much, Usha, for bringing in this beautiful story for this day. And Seema, I love you. Such a lovely, lovely connect to what Madras means to you. I thank Lavanya and the IIT Chennai group and the Bibliothek for having me here. So yes, I reside in Bengaluru, but I was born in Tamil Nadu, not in Chennai, not in Madras, but in Coimbatore. But I have a very, very special connect to Madras. And let me tell you what that is. You know, it was the time of Mahashivratri, and I was in Coimbatore in my teenage, learning music and dance, Bharatanatyam. And that day, especially, my dance teacher was teaching us a very new shloka. Champeya Gaurartha Sharirakaye Karpura Gaurartha Sharirakaya Dammillakayai cha Jadatharaya Namah Shivayai cha Namah Shivaya. To her, whose body was shining like molten gold, and to him, whose body was burning like the camphor. To her, who had free flowing hair, and to him, who has matted locks. My salutations to thee, Shiva and Parvati. That was the shlokam about Ardhanarishwara. And I was so thrilled to learn that new shlokam. And I was humming that wearing my dance sari and walking towards my house. That is when I saw my mother. She was prepping up for the next day. She was cleaning up the courtyard of the house or vasal. As I came there, I said, Appadiyo, Amma, today's exercise is over. She looked at me and she smiled. என்னமோ போ டான்ஸுங்கிறேள் ஜிம்முங்கிறேள் ஜாகிங்குங்கிறேள் இந்த மாதிரி எக்ஸசைஸ்லாம் எங்க காலத்துல நாங்க ஒன்றும் பண்ணலம்மா. We did not know any of these kind of exercises, you know. And I got really irritated because she was the one who kept insisting that I will have to exercise. She quickly got the clue. She looked at me and she said, "Appadi illada konde. What I'm trying to tell is we had different kinds of activities that made us exercise well to keep our body fit." So saying, she took that coconut shell filled with that white liquid, dipped a cotton cloth into it, and then slowly put the borders in the vasal. I was looking at her as she was bending down and drawing the lines, the borders. The way she was standing with her feet hip distance apart and completely concentrating on what she was doing. To me, it seemed like meditation. It seemed like she was making that beautiful patterns and was trying to connect herself to the Supreme. Kolama, appadina enna tata? I remember asking my tata when I was about 5 or 6 years of age. My tata was standing there in front of the Swami room and he was telling his prayers early Margari morning. Margari tingal madi nirainda nannala. To me, it didn't sound really good because I had asked him a question and he has not given me the answers yet. He looked at me, he smiled and he said, Cherida Konde, now tell me, do you know who wrote the song that I'm singing? I know You've told me already. Andal. That's right. Just like how Tata is taking all these beautiful flowers and making it into a beautiful garland for the Lord that I'm going to pray to. There was one man, Vishnu Chittan was his name. He was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. And every day morning, he would go to his beautiful garden. He would pick the choicest of the flowers and he would make such lovely, lovely garlands, such beautiful garlands. And he would go and put it in the neck of the Ranganatha Perumal that he was very, very fond of. This was happening every single day. One day, as Vishnu Chittan was going and seeing, plucking the beautiful flowers in the garden, he heard the sound of a baby crying. What is this? He went and he peeped amidst the beautiful plants that was there, and there he saw a girl baby. A baby who looked as fresh as the flower. A baby who was as beautiful as the beautiful flower garland that he makes for his Ranganatha Perumal. He took the baby in his hands. He went to his wife and he said, I think the Lord has given to us whatever we had asked for. Today we have this baby with us and let us bring her up as our own. And that is what they did. They took the little baby. They looked at her beautiful face, the flower face, and they named her Kodai, meaning a beautiful garland, just like the garland that Vishnu Chittan always made. Well, do you know something? Kodai grew up listening to tales about Ranganatha every single day. And in the heart of hearts, without her knowledge, she fell in love with the Lord. And she was dreaming of the day when she would go and marry Ranganatha Perumal. When she came of age, she called out to all her friends, especially in the months of Margari, and she said, why don't you all come with me and sing these beautiful pasurams, put these beautiful patterns outside your house and welcome the Lord to your heart. When her friends teased her, she just added to spice it up. If you do this, you definitely will get the man of your dreams. Her friends teased her. They told her that she was daydreaming. But Kodai did this with all her heart, every single day, drawing patterns outside her house, welcoming her Lord to the heart, and taking the garlands that she had made. First she put it on her. It looked very pretty, and only then she made it sure to put it to Ranganatha Perumal. One day, her father, Vishnu Chittan, happened to see this. He was shell-shocked. What are you doing, Kodai? Is this what you will do? Appa, but Ranganatha, I wanted to marry him, Appa. Stop all this nonsense, Kodai. Vishnu Chittan could not bear to see this happening. But the same day, Lord Ranganatha came in the dreams of Vishnu Chittan and told him that he would not wear any other garland other than the garland Kodai wears in her neck. The legend says that as time went by, Kodai became one with her Lord. And that is why she was called Andal, the one who won the heart of her Lord. Ayyo, so is that why people draw kolam outside their house? Because they want to get good husband? If that is what you think it is, maybe you can start drawing columns too. My grandfather told me and I blushed. I was standing there outside the house seeing my mother drawing column, and this came across my mind and I just laughed out loud. And my mother asked me, "Endi sirikra? Kolam nanna illaya?" Ayyo, illamma, not that. I just remembered some stupid question I asked grandfather, and I remembered the story that he told me that day. Oh, ஏதோ பாட்டு பாடிட்டு வந்தியே, Endatha patti paattu? Oh, aduva. My dance teacher is teaching me this beautiful shlokam, you know. That shlokam is reminding me of a riddle that my grandmother asked me. Do you want to try and answer that? My day was getting better and better, and I was very thrilled. And I said, shoot it, Amma. Let me try. And my mother went early in the morning, before even the rays of the sun could touch the earth. There were two voices that were heard. The birds, the bees, the wind, and the trees were listening to those two voices. One said, just like how the moon revolves around the sun, just like how the sun revolves around the earth, I revolve around you countless times and in countless ways. Up and down, in and out, west and east, north and south. To this, the other voice replied, what am I without you? If you don't revolve around me, I don't even count. Fut came the reply from the other voice. Why would you say that? I'm just like an alphabet, but you are the one who completes me, make meaningful words out of me. Ayo, let us stop fighting, no? Let us put it like this. If you are constancy, then I am motion. If you are the heart, I am the emotion. If you are the beginning, then I am the end. With you, I'm one. And without you, I'm none. Ayo, Amma. Ayo, evlo romantica irukuma. The teenager in me was blushing. Okay, Lavanya, adella pogatum. Now you tell me, who do you think these voices belong to? And I knew it instantly because my mother was telling that she was reminded of this riddle after listening to the shloka that I was reciting. Of course, Shiva and Parvati, Ardhanarishwara. Niyu ade tappu dhaan pandre. You also did not get it right. Just like the birds and the bees and the trees and the wind. Who thought it was the voice of Shiva and Parvati? Then whose voice is that, Amma? It is the voice of the dot and the line in the column that everybody puts outside their house. It just sounded like Shiva and Parvati to me, Amma. That is true too, because when we put the column, we were taught that the dot that we keep represents Parvati and the line that we draw represents Shiva. And I was amazed to see the connect. How a simple, humble, grounded column could help you connect with the Supreme just like that. That is why I understood that my mother has not skipped even one day of this ritual where she's completely immersed in herself. You might now want to ask me, where is the Madras connection? Well, the year was 2001. I was 21 years old, doing my third year College of Engineering. That is when the TV shows were all focusing on one particular event that was happening in Madras, the Mylapore Kolam Festival. As I switched on the TV and I saw the coverage, I was amazed. Because the entire neighborhood of Mylapore, the streets were beautiful with such lovely columns drawn. And all these memories came rushing into my mind. The story that I heard from my grandfather, the riddle that my mother told me, everything just came rushing to my mind. And what do you think I did? The next day onwards, drawing column outside the house became my job. You know what? My sister and my brother even teased me. They said, marriageable age, no. She's also secretly asking for her dream husband. Just like that Andal. But to me, it was much more than that. To me, it was the dream. It was to dream. It was to believe in the dream. just like how Andal did. And I know if I'm going to do that, then the universe will somehow conspire to make it true for me, just like how it did to Andal. So every day, right from that day, I've been drawing columns outside the house, thanks to the TV coverage of the Mylapore Kolam Festival. But that was also my connection to the Supreme, my morning meditation, along with a little brownie points that I'm giving the insects and the birds some food to eat. புள்ளி வச்சு கோலம் போட்டா வாசலுக்கு அழகு, பறவை இரும்பு எல்லாத்துக்கும் நீ தருவ உணவு, வாசலிலே கோலம் போட்டா லக்ஷ்மி வருவ பாரு, மகிழ்ச்சியாய் நீ இருப்ப ரொம்ப ரொம்ப ஜோரு. I know there is one question running in all your minds. Did I get that dream husband of mine? Well, I did. And incidentally, his name is Narayan Prasad. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Lavanya, for bringing that beautiful personal story of yours. But that is what it happens. You know, the memories and the experiences might be very personal, but the emotions are very, very universal. They connect us all. And I'm sure many of the listeners, including me, have gone into our own past, you know, our own connects. Like, for instance, the Parthasarathi Kovil, the Kolam, and all that. And the beautiful answer that your mother gave, the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine. Because whether it is Shiva, Parvati, or whoever it is, they are just a figure, you know. But it's the what matters is the essence of it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you so much. And my dear audience, so this is what storytellers do. They weave magic. For instance, Seema started off with her USP, the beautiful words, the lovely imagination, and the beautiful experiences. So, with a twinkle in her eyes and so beautifully expressed. And of course, Usha, you know, her own singing, and she brought in that Bollywood little bit of Hindi song and everything. So, that is what cities and this is what places and people do. So, it is not just the place, the city per se, but the buildings, the people. To me, it's the Madras. It's the lovely waves that and the sand castles that we built as children, and the lighthouse and the Fort St. George and so many other things. But now I'm very, very curious when I heard such lovely stories from Lavanya Prasad, from Usha Venkatraman, and Seema Vahi Mukherjee from different corners of India. What Madras means to our own Chennai and our own Janaki Sabesh. Yeah, over to you, Janaki. I invite you to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so thank you for making me a part of this Madras emotion, as I call it. And thank you, Seema, Usha, and Lavanya for sharing your stories. And thank you, Lavanya Srinivas, so beautifully to put it all together, and Sukumari and Senthil of Bibliothek, Senthil, of course, of IIT Alumni Center, for even making this possible, making this reality, something that's possible here. Okay, Senthil, can you spotlight me? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I'm not able to see myself. Okay, fine. All right. It all began with a call. Hello, Janaki. This is Tirupura Sundari Sevvel from Madras Literary Society. We are opening a children's corner and we would love for you to come and perform your book. Do you think you can make it? I was thrilled. I was getting a call from a prestigious institution in Chennai, Madras Literary Society, and why will I, give away a chance to perform my book? I immediately said yes. And of course, I accepted, blissfully unaware of the kind of world that I was going to get into. So, of course, for all those who know, maybe a handful of you who might not know, Madras Literary Society, as Lavanya has already shared in the beginning, is one of the oldest lending library of the South, and it used to be housed in the Fort St. George College, which was set up by the East India Company, which used to impart education in administration, language, laws, culture, customs to all their employees. I was ready. The day arrived and I entered MLS, Madras Literary Society. What struck me was the grandeur. It was like a two-story building, and it was kind of old, but it had a charm of its own. And it was almost like I left the modern wonders of the 21st century behind me at the door and I entered. Wow, I was stunned. I mean, I expected a library with some furniture, some books, some old books, but I had not expected this. Rows and columns with high ceiling covered with books, books that had adventure, that had history, waiting for people to read. And Tirupuri Sundari Savvel, TPS as I call her, she and the librarian Uma, they came and welcomed me and they ushered me inside. And I was still awestruck by this beautiful expanse. And almost as if TPS was reading my mind, she said, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a single story building inside, but you get a kind of architectural illusion because it's double story from outside. TPS is an architect planner, so obviously she had it all clear in her mind. And I said, yes, I really didn't realize. When did it come up? She said, oh, this building came up in 1900. And before that, there were students in Fort St. George. They would come from the back gate, which is now called the river gate, in the Kuvam. And they used to come, drop their coats and sit on those leather chairs and relax and read. I said, wow, that's awesome. And then she said, she knew I love stories. And then she told me about the sandstone trimmings that this building has. And she told me to just look up. And there was natural light just getting into the entire space. It was so beautiful. Single story with so many stories. Every corner was shrouded with mystery waiting to be discovered. And as I showed interest in listening to all these stories, TPS said, that is not all. This library has so many books. It started with about 12,000, but 83,000 books and lots of historical memorabilia. Wow, that's much more than, the books that I can read in a lifetime, that anybody can read in a lifetime. That's not all. It has letters from Subhash Chandra Bose, Annie Besant. In fact, the oldest book is 1619, written by Aristotle in Greek and Latin, and it is called Opera Omnia. Wow, couldn't get better. And I was still in a daze, and I really had not expected this kind of library, a society like this. And she said, can I tell you a story? We were still waiting for the audience to trickle in and, come and settle down. I said, yeah, yeah. I just love listening to, I was already awestruck and I said, bring it on. And she said, a few years ago, now this event happened a few years ago. So a few years before that, I believe a father and a daughter came from the US because they wanted to trace some of the, their great grandfather's father, who they knew had studied in Fort St. George. And when they put it in Google, the first thing that came up was a BBC article on MLS. And there they were. They just came and they said, would you like to take us through? Can you give us any idea? This was part of the genealogy tree. And both Uma and TPS did everything they could to, almost reverse map, figure out would your person, your grandfather would have gone in a ship to Burma? Do you think you can give us some more details? And they even took them to the Madras, the TN archives, and they went through the Madras almanac, and they were thrilled to see so much of information. I mean, they came with absolutely, they just came with very little information. And now they were going back and they were so thrilled that they actually gifted a book and a piece of furniture to MLS. Wow, so many stories. And that's when an old lady came and asked me, would you like some coffee or tea? TPS introduced me to her. This was Marthamma. And who was Marthamma? Just when I thought it was only a treasure of books that MLS had, it had also another treasure in the form of Marthamma, who had been there for almost 45 years, but on the campus, but only 25 years on the roll. And there was something so beautiful on her face, that sense of calmness, a smile that broke into a kind of a reassurance, if at all I had any anxiety. And she just gestured to me, and I said, no, I'd like some coffee post the session. And she said, yes. And then it started. The children had come, and I started sharing my story. The story is from my book, The Jungle Storytelling Festival. It's about an ostrich who stammers and can't tell his story, and how he finally gets. And at one point, there is a happy song, and I started singing it. It's a happy, happy song. Let's all sing along. And from the corner of my eye, I could see Marthamma dancing. It's a happy, happy song. Let's all sing along. I was thrilled to see so much of interest and so much of love coming for my Ostro the ostrich. It got over, people clapped, and people wanted some. There were lots of copies of the book, so I signed a couple of them, for people. And then, of course, the children's corner, that nice little corner, was formally inaugurated. I sat down on the chair, and then Marthamma came with this hot, steaming cup of coffee and said, Sapiduma, sapiduma. So I said, yeah, much needed, and I started drinking. And that's when TPS told me that this is what Marthamma stands for. She has a service with smile. You know what she does? Anybody who comes into MLS, they cannot even get in without signing the visitor's book. It could be an officer, but she would say, no, you need to sign the visitor's book. And this coffee that she gave me, she would extend it to anybody who came into MLS, because she knew every single bit of detail in MLS. She was part of the campus for so many decades. In fact, many people would approach her and ask her about a lot of details about what and when some events had happened, and she would very magnanimously share all that she knew. In fact, she would say, do you see that tree? There is a cuckoo bird's nest. Hey, don't go there, you might just encounter a snake. Ah, no. Would you know? Oh, which section do you want? Okay, but have you signed the visitor's book? In fact, TPS told me even the stingiest of auto drivers would not take any money from her, and that is how she was, service with a smile. And just on cue, TPS nudged her. She said, Padangama, padanga. And Marthamma broke into a song. Oh, 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 ரசிக்கும் சீமானே டடா 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 ஓ ரசிக்கும் சீமானே வா ஜொலிக்கும் உடை அணிந்து களிக்கும் நடனம் புரிவோம் அதை நினைக்கும் பொழுது மனம் இனிக்கும் விதத்தில் சுகம் அளிக்கும் கலைகள் அறிவோம் டடடா 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 ஓ ரசிக்கும் சீமானே poor TPS. And she chuckled. How beautiful was that? I just got up and hugged Marthamma. There was something so beautiful. And she said, it's okay, it's okay. And then TPS told me that she doesn't sing always. She sang with people whom she felt comfortable with. And I was so thrilled to hear that. This day was getting so better, so beautiful. And then I saw a facet of Marthamma, which normally people don't see. Somebody came and took away the empty coffee cup, and Marthamma said, "Hey, stop it, put it there, put it there. This is my job. என்னப்பா இது என்னோட job. போங்க போங்க போங்க." That is how she was. She would never let anybody else do any of her chores, right from the visitor's book and making sure. In fact, remember I told you about the genealogy tree? She was the one who kept reassuring this father and the daughter, saying, "Don't worry, Ma, something will happen." She was multilingual, you see, so she could converse in English and Tamil. And she said, "Don't worry, you will get it. You've come all the way, no, from America. You will definitely get some clue or the other." And they got it. So reassuring. And sometimes all we need is this reassurance, right? Earlier this year, Marthamma retired from MLS. 45 years of being in campus, 25 years of service. But you know what? The spirit of Madras lives on, not only in her, but in all those beautiful books that are waiting to be discovered at the Madras Literary Society. After all, what we know of history is the one that has been recorded. And kudos to all the people who actually make sure, toil hard, it's not easy to keep these artifacts in the library alive. As I left MLS that day, I said, we are also going to be part of history, right? Today we are the present, tomorrow will be history, and what we become is what we are going to take into the future. Maybe a little bit of kindness, like Marthamma, some reassurance, her love for her work. These are the things, these are the lovely thoughts that were keeping on buzzing in my mind. And that is the day I realized that thanks to TPS, thanks to that one call, I discovered the hidden M. Not just the Madras Literary Society, but also Marthamma. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if I could ask Senthil to share the photographs. I have a few photographs, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you from the event that day. And for all those who've not seen MLS, I would love to showcase. And Tirupura Sundari, I know you're in the audience. Thank you for everything. Okay, so that is the Madras Literary Society. That's the exterior. The next one, please, Senthil. Wow. Look at that grandeur. Yeah, Lavanya, isn't it? I saw your expression. Yeah, it's beautiful, right? I mean, I had to show this to all of you. Yeah, and the next one, please. That's Marthamma. That's Marthamma. Oh God, I'm getting goosebumps. She's such a... Next one, please. This is one of the beautiful caricature that an artist has done. And thank you, Tripura Sundari, for sharing these pictures with me. The next one. That's, can you see this children's corner there? It's right there. A little corner in this beautiful piece of history called the MLS. The next one. Yeah, that's, I just wanted to show you the height of MLS, the ceiling, and the last photograph, please. And that's Marthamma with TPS, Uma, and other office bearers, and with my book. I've considered it a very, very... Thank you, Senthil. Thank you so much. So that's my... I love Chennai. I love Madras. And I think this is my tribute to the city that's given me everything. Even though I'm from Delhi and Kolkata and Bombay, this city has made me who I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janaki. And Marthamma, yes, I have met her so You've won my heart, and she is a gem of a person. And MLS, because Madras Literary Society, we just the other day, 2 days back, I celebrated Madras Day at MLS for the 7th year. All
Wow.
the most of the storytellers here, like Usha and Lavanya Prasad, also shared their stories there. And it is not just the places that make a city, it's the people. It's the people like Marthamma, who make the place what it is today. So beautiful. Thank you all. And the connect between the way you chose this as the story today means a lot, because Bibliothek hosts this.
Yes.
And yeah, and we are ending it with MLS. It said that stories choose themselves. As storytellers, we strongly believe that, it's the stories that choose to be told that particular day. So our idea of coming here is also, like Sukumari and I and most of the members, we keep discussing that the future generations need to be, raised on the staple diet of books, stories. These are the ones that would give them wings for their imagination, for their creativity, and for the shaping of their minds, especially. Thank you so much, Sukumari. I would love to hear from you rather than my telling. And thank you, my dear storytellers, and Mr. Yadav of IIT Alumni Center, and Sendil. The team has been really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you all, storytellers. So wonderful to listen to your memories, your stories, your sound effects. Very, very nice. Really amazing. It's been a very unique journey for us. On behalf of the IIT Alumni Club Center, as well as Bibliothek, thank you so much. Thank you, Sendil, and thank you, Lavanya, for putting together this wonderful panel of people. Thank you. As someone told me, it's so lovely to see that it's not a manel, it's just a
Yeah.
womanal.
Very good. And in fact, just to bring one point, though Seema shared her beautiful experiences, what attracted me was that she felt very safe in Madras, in Chennai. That one point was so beautiful. And Usha's, the choice to, select the husband for a woman. These things are very beautiful.
Pick,
And
pick,
Lavanya,
pick the right one. Pick the right. Choosing is easy. Picking.
She was so right, the grandmother. Very hard to pick
so
the right
much.
one.
So much more to say that. Yeah. And Lavanya Prasad's, of course, the connect again was mostly about marriages. Seema wanted to, though an outsider, wanted to get married and come here. And I was a local here, didn't want to marry anybody outside Madras, but I was married and I was sent to the city of destiny, Vishakhapatnam. That was my destiny. And Usha's story had marriage, and Lavanya Prasad also the marriage of the beautiful divine couple, and Janaki Savesh the marriage of the person and the place, the people and the place. That was Marthamma. The commitment, the loyalty, the passion, the companionship that she felt with the place. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Lavanya, am I the only person who's born and brought up in Chennai then?
I'm also Sukumari. Just for a temporary period, I went
Though
to
I'm not
Vizag.
a Tamil.
Back here. I'm back here for the past 12 years. So
Lavanya
it
and
has
I are both
been
not Tamil, but both of us seem to be the only ones born and brought up here.
exactly. And I'm
Okay.
not Telugu. I'm
Yeah,
a
but
Telugu. I'm not a Tamil
Sukumari,
either. But that's what it's all about. It's not Tamil. It is not about
Yes,
being born here,
absolutely.
raised here, or whatever. It's these experiences, these memories, the emotions that we carry so close to our heart that makes the place.
Sukumari, for the past 36 years, I've completed 36 years of marriage. I have been to Chennai every year. Like I said, it's my pukka, not my poranda, but pukka. So I would come there every year. So that's more than I'm 60. So 36 years is
Yeah.
more than my
Half
living.
your life.
Okay, I think
And
we have a question.
Is there a
Mr.
question? Yes,
Chandan
it's open for
yeah,
questions if
yeah,
anyone
please.
wants to ask the
Yes.
storytellers.
You're on mute.
You're
On mute.
muted. We can't hear you. Can you unmute? I saw your message that you're a lover of Madras.
Can you unmute yourself? We can't hear your question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now? Okay.
Yes.
I said hello and thank you very much. I have no stories to tell, but I'm a great Chennai lover, as Sukumari would certify. And I now live in Delhi after 28 years in Chennai, and I miss it terribly. So thank you very much, all you ladies.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you,
And
Suvira.
my name is Suvira, and
Thank you, Suvira.
my husband and I are, well, we're still members of the IIT Alumni Club.
I remember hearing you speak in Tamil, Suvira. Cute
Only when I
Tamil,
was shopping.
cute Tamil.
Yeah, okay. My connect now with Chennai is that I have a son-in-law from Chennai. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.